Welcome.
Thank you. So yes, this is the audit for 2024. So you came in unqualified, highest standard you can get. We audit under our generally accepted auditing accounting principles, and then also under the government audit standards, and then compliance under the New York Public Securities Law. We also have a opinion on that. And then if we switch to page 4, looking at the balance sheets. As in the past, you really don't have a whole lot of activity going through your balance. It's almost the same exactly. Cash is always strong. You have very few liabilities. You did have some accounts payable this year, just timing for the invoices came in. And then you have your debt, which is with the cash, which goes till 2030. And then capital assets is the land that's available for sale, the development property, and then a small amount of office equipment, that's depreciated. Looking at your operating revenues, so you get your applications and your administrative fees. So most of that is made up of admin fees, and then also Cornerstone Community SCU, which had about 32,000 administrative fees this year. Gain on the sale of land, which you had sold some few acres on Joshi Road. So that is the proceeds of 110,000 less the cost of land. And then for your expenditures, most of the expenditure differentials were pretty similar. You did have some more surveys, some wetland work, and things like that did have bumped up for repairs category a little bit this year. But other than that, everything was pretty consistent. We did pay one of those engineering fees, which did increase the professional line. So you ended up with operating income, so all that happens in your normal day pay of $11,000. And then your non-operating revenue, interest on your cash in your bank account, and then other income is the resolution of the GM lawsuit. So probably 6, 7, maybe years ago, maybe probably. 250,000 was recorded as a liability to cover anything that you might have to get out on that lawsuit. So that was recorded as an expense that year, even though no cash was left for the building. Well, it ended up being $56,000, $57,000. So the difference between the 250 and the amount you actually paid has to come back in as income, even though cash is always there. So that bumps up your net position to $256,000. So really, when you're looking at operating, you're almost at break. You've got 11,000 net income. The 52 of interest, helps increase your cash. But the 193 is the 1-year resolution of that. Then we have the statement of cash flows, which Kristen was just saying she really wants to talk about. She was just like, recovery from taxes.
Well, the thing used to be that you could actually tie it and then cash back to the balance sheet. Everyone's too good for that. Where
was that?
Nobody ties it.
Taking a look at the notes, we have our general note about just what you do and what your policies are, including some things about cash investments that are general fiscal law. And then, again, just looking at your net position, just all the things that give the reader an idea of what exactly it is the IPA does and what their purpose is. And then capital assets, again, you can see the land available for sale and the development property. You can see the decrease in the land available for sale from that sale of the Junction Road property. long-term debt, that's just a breakout of till 2030, what we take down. And then the last page of the notes, the litigation note has been updated for the fact that the case has been settled and the difference between the liability that you actually paid this week reported as other income. And then the two opinions for the government auditing standards and then the public authorities law. Any questions on the statements? So then I'll go to the communication approach for governance. This is one of the required reports that we have to provide to you. Just goes through planning, scope of the audit, our responsibilities, your responsibilities. It does talk about significant policies, directions that go one. There are estimates within the financial statements, but in your case, not a lot. It really is depreciation of your capital assets that aren't planned, which just means a small amount of office equipment you have. And then really small, very small, like what is it, $14,000. And then the financial statement disclosures to look at are the capital assets, the long-term debt, and then just the litigation notes that wraps up that. We didn't have any material entries. We were really looking for an entry, and that was to report the depreciation, so that was less than $1,000. So you keep care of making sure that all the books are ready for us and are in good order. And then the management letter, the only thing that we know, we always know, is just remember that Kate is the person who takes care of all the financial aspects of it. And pay the bills. I just witnessed this and sign anything, so they just keeping those things.
Operation duties.
Exactly. So overall, management letter, and like I said, we didn't have any issues with the information that he provided to us. They tied. Other than the GM,
Yay!
Some activity we anticipated to take place in Audit, both in terms of the pilot fee and then land sale that we would envision happening pretty. I think I do notice is when Kate does have any, and the questions are these one-offs, like they sold the Bison bag, but like in their files, our land isn't just land. It's kind of like Yahoo land and like what we would have known been on the board that long, but Wassick land and so on. So there's a couple pots to go looking for. She always gives these guys a call so that she isn't having to reverse something and realize that it's been done wrong. So I always appreciate that.
Yeah, we do out there. Here.
I don't think Kate has any problems calling.
In those, in the financial statements, those Wendell charges and the SHPO and wetlands, those are all part of the FAST grant. The challenge on reporting that is it's like almost all our grants. It's a reimbursement grant. So we haven't seen a nickel of that, mainly because of the bird issue. Anyway, we'll continue to obviously keep track of that, and then eventually we'll see the FAST grant make its way into it.
How much was it?
It was like 62 or 67, and it was a 50% match. So I haven't added it up, but we may not even hit quote unquote our 50% coverage.
Are you recording that as receivable, or is it not? Is there a chance that we're not?
There is that chance, only if we don't spend it all, and
Is there an end date?
yeah, I think it's the end of 26 or 27.
And you can't submit the claim until you spend it.
It's not so much that they So for them to kind of clear the gauntlet and open up those usual voucher processes, they have to send us an agreement. They still have to send us an agreement because they really like everything to be amazingly clean and green. And I'm like, but you're giving money for a pre-development to sort these issues out and determine how developable is. So I don't know why you're so hung up on this bird thing. Well, just as recently as yesterday, we were on the phone with Wendell with an email to WSP to say, where the hell are the DEC? We won't love the letter, but we can at least say, look, we've updated this, we're aware of its current situation. Now, like, we're gonna open up those floodgates, if you will, so we can start to submit. But yeah, I have the talks every quarter with them, so not worried about it. Good.
So then, I think I saw some signing happening there, I think that, that round letter, we can finalize everything.
Great.
We'll send you, how many final copy or copies, we'll send you obviously a PDF.
Yeah, I'd say same, like 7 or 8. So if they each get one, and I stick one in our audit file, and then tomorrow, if it's tomorrow, I get the PDF, and I can use that. Paris report. They don't like things that say draft, surprisingly. And with that one, there was one kind of late change of reporting that liability piece in a different spot. So I've got to go back in our financials. It'll take me 19 seconds to change that around, but otherwise, believe it or not, there's some auditor sitting there somewhere. Wait a minute, you have financials on Paris, so what?
Yes.
And that takes me to 20 seconds. All right.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day.
Krista, this is on the agenda under new business to present to the board, just to get through. We'll get our 2 cents and get there.
Packet, we have minutes from February 13th. Motion.
I have a motion.
Motion by Kristen, second by Terry, all in favor, opposed, motion carries. And treasurer's report, Kristen.
All right, starting with the balance sheet, we have $1.7 million in cash between the checking and the savings. And a year-to-date net loss of $16,205, which if you turn the page to the next full page, the income statement, you'll see that track year-to-date net loss of $16,205. This month we had income of interest of $3,579 against expenses of $10,453 for a net loss of $6,873.97. Turning back to the statement of cash transactions, you'll see the balance at the end of the period was $1,708,000. That was interest earnings previously discussed against disbursements of $10,453 to get to that balance of $1,708,000. Any questions on the income statement?
I'm curious, interest, like what rate they're paying these days.
I will check for you. I apologize.
Low trees.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed a little bit.
Any other questions? Well, you know what, actually, I can probably say that. Questions about these. I just have it never heard of it. 28. Down here somewhere, right? 2.9.
All right, any other questions for Kristen? All right, motion to accept the financial statement presented.
Oops, I'll second.
Motion by Rob, second by Christine, all in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Invoices and bills.
All right, on the last page of the packet, I present to you for approval the March 2025 bills. Total payments of $7,164.30. The largest of which is to the town of Lockport, $1,956.26. Reimbursements, the monthly contract and then reimbursements for travel for seminar. And then $1,000 decrease $375 to WSPUSA for the, under the gas grant. And then present that for approval.
And I would just note, February mileage obviously is that number given back and forth to all. I actually did have a number of decent monthly ones as well, which was ironic, but the bulk of that's gone.
All right, we got invoices. Bills presented by Kristen. Motion by Kristen to pay those. Second by Janine. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to Tom.
Yeah, most of it's little tiny items. I did attend the Lockport Hospital Clinic Physician Offices portion open house. So Councilman Keo was there as well. Nothing too much to report other than they've done a nice job with the facility of memory serves. It's 30 exam rooms, and they listed all the different, both primary care but also specialty options that are available. So, it's interesting between Buffalo Medical Group, this, and then soon to be Collida. There's actually quite a supply of physicians at once. Just really quickly, with RPNY, obviously they don't have jobs to report. They were looking for some things. I think I reported last month. We asked them in July to send us a note. We'll upon kind of further review of the documents. They're also responsible to send us the full year power generation. So we'll also get that statistic as well. That was already in the pilot agreement. So plenty of information on them. In your packet, I included the 2 pages on the Dream It, Do It program. Probably at least minimally introduced it. They held their launch event called that at New York Beer Project. I've been trying to do 2 things. One, I happen to sit on Lockport High School's career career pathway advisory group. And they are going to be participating. They've got some student information confidentiality agreement that they're working through. But much more importantly than that is really trying to identify, a handful of our manufacturers to participate, and that can be everything from just simple plant tours to volunteering at other Dream It, Do It events, or kind of signing on for the full-on program where kids have a more significant role. But I think we all know that in all of our manufacturers, that kind of early entry portal, is pretty thin. I mean, an example of that, and they're really just getting up to speed. But this weekend they have a girls' welding program, I think, and trip, and from the handful of school districts that are in right now, 4 girls that signed up to go to the event. So there's some work to be done there. That's okay. I mean, when you look at the 4 or 5 years it's been operating in Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County, it's much more rounded out, much better student participation and so on. So we'll continue. In fact, I've got to stop up Custom Laser later this morning. I'll kind of really twist their arm. They'd be a great location plant to do that. But you may start to hear more on that. The paper actually covered it, so that's fairly decent. I will be making our kind of annual economic development report to the town board on April 2nd. I'm going to be able to use some AV equipment. Now that the audit is complete, we'll talk about that in minutes. I will complete the Paris filing tomorrow morning and sort of check that box. I've got one minor update to do it based on some change they made in the financials, but no big deal. I included the map of the current park in your packet just to show you how outdated it is, both in terms of facility identification, everything from XPO to districts that changed their names, team assist, General Wire, J&R Door, Up North Hosting, Poly One. I mean, all those literally are all different now. And you can see over by Yano, it's still listing it as, Verizon Media. And so I spoke yesterday with Ralph Lagoon. The good news for us is we've already had them survey like the Yahoo land and survey the 10 acres where See the Wind would be and so on. So it's not difficult for them to address that on the next version of the map as well. So he's going to actually send me like a poster size of the map for me to mark it up and send it off to them. So in the next month or so, we'll have an updated map. It's one of those things of trying to sit there and say, well, how do we know someone's not going to do X or Y? But at some point, you just got to recognize just how out of date it is and get it updated. So that's kind of in the works, if you will. A reminder that those of you that are on the governance committee, that was something with Terry and I think Terry, Bob, and Janine will meet next month at 7:30. I've got a couple items to review already, get that annual meeting out of the way. The other thing I added to the report, I can pass that around just so you will see some of the full elements. I think for almost every year, at least 4 out of 5 years, I've nominated one of our manufacturers to Business First's annual manufacturing awards. And this year, we've, like, for example, done a couple family ones, everything from Weisenbach and Magnetics in the past. I don't think I did one last year, but this year I did Gooding NOSCO under the Operation Excellence category, mainly because the year before they had won for all of NOSCO, their kind of operational excellence award. So not surprising they were selected. They're going to be one of 25 manufacturers represented in the awards event in end of May, which I'll obviously attend. But I think they're deserving, and it doesn't hurt for us. The only other Lockport one, because you can imagine it's very Erie County centric, was rubber forming in a different category in the city of Lockport. So it's good to get us represented, if you will. So and they were pleased. They've got to come up with kind of a 3-minute video, which is probably the one pain in the neck. But they've got NOSCO corporate do most of that for them. And I did let Jerry Case know, even though he really just owns the building nowadays. Yeah, couple items for exec, but that's it, unless anybody's got questions on that.
Thanks, Tom. Moving on, attorney's report, Tom.
I just have one thing. Resolution I passed up here. Looks like this. I'll just read it to you. It's fairly straightforward. Resolution approving and ratifying the sales transaction between Town of Lockport Development Agency and 5404 Crown Drive, Inc., which was recorded in the Niagara County Clerk's Office on 12/4/2024 under instrument number 2024-18805, and clarifying, ratifying, and approving that administrative director SI has authority to act as agent signatory and to bind the IDA for all related transfer documents, including but not limited to the relevant to such transaction. This was just a question of how the Tom had signed the transaction documents, and then their attorney's title company was wondering if we had a resolution specifically authorized Tom to sign those things. Which I went back and looked, and we did not. We didn't have a line that authorized Tom to sign it. And frankly, usually probably would have. So then I went and checked our governance, documents to see if Tom has the authority, and that's not perfectly clear either. Although it is perfectly clear that Tom has it, it's not perfectly clear that Tom has the authority. So I just told him, we'll just do a little resolution here, so you can plug it into your file docs. So jumping up and do that. So if you have any other questions, it's just kind of a revision.
So do we have a motion to accept this? All right, we'll take a motion to accept the resolution as presented. Motion by Bob, second by Darlene, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have. Other than that, Adam's project is just waiting. Really, we're waiting for her to get funding. So it's like this close. We're 75, 85, 95% there. Just using the tidy up right again, close on all documents. But I'm just setting it aside until she tells me that they have funding, because that's just kind of what's been going. So I was in communication with her attorney here right at the end of February. He was hoping that can be he was hoping to get it done in March. Here we are. So we're still waiting for funding. But I do expect it to happen soon. And that's it. Really, that's all I have.
Okay, all right, thanks, Tom. All right, is there any old business? New business? We did the audit this morning. Kristen, did you want to give a couple highlights?
Sure. If the audit committee met with the auditor from Munson and McCormick this morning on the draft financial statements. And you have 3 documents in front of you. The first one is communication with those charged with government, which is us. And it's just a letter from the audit firm to us, just letting them know what they did. And really the biggest things on this are a couple of the significant accounting practices, just to let us know that there are estimates and to point us to certain disclosures in the financial statements, which we'll go through, and that they did not have any difficulties encountered, no disagreements with management, and there was just one journal entry for a small amount of depreciation that the auditors found Kate subsequently booked. Then the management letter is unqualified letter. It's the best that we can get, although they continue to emphasize that we continue to perform the segregation of duties that we have been, making sure that we review the checks before they are signed and posted, and to, have monthly oversight on monthly financial data, bank balance sheet accounts, bank statements, which I review the bank statements and cancel checks on a monthly basis. And then the last thing is the financial statements, and the first couple pages are just the auditor's report, which again is an unqualified opinion, best we can get. There's really no difference, aside from that small amount of depreciation, which would bring the capital assets down a bit. There were no differences to what we saw throughout the year from Kate, which is always good. And then really the only thing to note as a big difference from last year is the accrued liability for the GM coming off the balance sheet and then showing up on our income statement under non-operating revenue for the amount that was over accrued. And then it's also referred to in note 5 for litigation, exactly what happened. So you can trace it back to the statements. So if there's no questions on those, I will ask for a motion to approve the audited financial statements.
Motion by Terry, second by Janine, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Kristen. And this time I'll take a motion to move to executive session for consultation with attorney. Motion by Bob, second by Darlene, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Executive session. Second. Darlene, second by Bob. All right, next meeting, 8 a.m. Thursday, April 10th. Let Tom know in advance if he cannot make that. And governance at 7:30 for those around the committee. And I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Motion by Crystal, second